Many people believe that life should be clear, that we must always have answers. We often think that certainty brings peace, but this is not always true. Sometimes, the more we try to be certain, the more stress we feel. We begin to fear mistakes. We begin to fear change. And in this fear, we suffer. Life is not like a puzzle with only one solution. It is more like a river. It flows. It moves. It changes with time. Trying to hold it still, trying to control everything, only leads to struggle. When we expect to always know what to do, we create pain for ourselves. There is a deep illusion in this world, the belief that if we know more, we will feel safe. But knowledge is not always safety, and answers are not always truth. Even the answers we find today may not help us tomorrow. This is the nature of life. It is always becoming, always growing. I have spent many years in silence and reflection. I have spoken with people from many places, and I have seen this. Those who chase answers often become tired. But those who accept the unknown often find peace, not because they gave up, but because they stopped fighting. To let go of the need for certainty is not weakness. It is a quiet strength. It is the courage to say, I do not know, and that is okay. In that moment, something opens inside us, something soft, something real. You do not have to understand everything. You do not have to solve every question. You only have to be here right now, with a calm heart. That is enough. That is more than enough. From the moment we are born, we are surrounded by mystery. We do not choose when we arrive in this world. We do not know what the future holds. Still, we wake up each day. We eat, we speak, we love, and we feel. We live with many questions, and this is not a problem. It is a part of being human. Some people feel afraid when they hear the word mystery. They want everything to be explained. They want clear paths and simple answers. But life does not always work this way. Some things are too deep. Some things are too wide. We cannot measure them or name them fully, and perhaps we do not need to. Mystery is not something to run from. It is something to sit with. A flower does not need to understand the sky to grow. A child does not need to know the reason for love to feel safe in a parent's arms. In the same way, we do not need to solve all the mysteries of life to live with peace. Many people ask me, what is the meaning of life? I smile and say, perhaps the meaning is not in the answer, but in the asking. When we live with open eyes and an open heart, we find beauty in small things. A sound, a breath, a gentle breeze. These are moments that carry no answers, yet they touch something deep within us. To live well is not to control life, but to meet it as it is. Not with fear, but with quiet respect. Mystery is not our enemy. It is a quiet teacher. And if we listen, even without words, it will guide us. In today's world, people feel pressure to always have an answer. At work, in the family, even among friends, we think we must be sure, we must be right. We fear saying, I don't know, as if it means we are weak or less smart. But this pressure is heavy. It can feel like carrying a large stone on our back. Always trying to know everything brings stress. Our minds never rest. We keep searching, reading, asking, planning. We think, if I just learn more, I will finally feel okay. But the truth is, there is always more to know. The world is endless, and no one can hold all of it. Sometimes we even lie to ourselves or others, just to look certain. We speak quickly. We give answers we are not sure of. We smile even when we are confused. This is not peace. This is fear in disguise. And fear makes us feel small inside. Letting go of this need to know everything can feel like setting down that heavy stone. You may feel lighter, even if the questions are still there. You can breathe more easily. You can say, "I'm not sure," and still feel strong. In fact, it takes great strength to admit that we don't know. When we stop pretending, we begin to live more honestly. We connect better with others. They feel safer too, because they see they don't need to be perfect either. This honesty creates space for wonder, for learning, and for deeper connection. The world does not ask you to be perfect. It only asks you to be real. Not knowing is not failure. It is a part of being alive, and it is nothing to be ashamed of. We often think that peace comes from having control. We believe that if we know what will happen next, we can relax. But life does not follow our plans. Things change. People change. Even our own minds change. So if we wait for everything to be clear before we feel peace, we may wait forever. But there is another way. We can learn to feel peace even when we do not have all the answers. It may sound strange, but it is possible. True peace is not about knowing everything. It is about learning to stay calm when we don't. Think about the night sky. We look up and see stars, but we do not know where each one leads. Still, it is beautiful. The unknown can be soft, it can be deep, it can be kind, but only if we stop trying to fight it. Many people feel nervous when they face a big question. What should I do next? Why did this happen? What if I make a mistake? These questions are part of life. You are not alone in asking them. But you do not need to rush to answer. Sometimes just sitting with the question can bring more peace than the answer ever could. Peace begins when we stop pushing life to be something it's not. It grows when we allow space for the unknown. In that space, we find stillness. And in that stillness, we begin to hear something quieter than answers, something deeper. It is not easy at first, but over time, you may find that the unknown is not a dark place. It is a calm place, a place where peace is waiting, like a still pond, untouched by the wind. When we are young, we often think that once we find the answer to something, it will stay true forever. But as we grow older, we begin to see that answers can change. What felt true 10 years ago may not feel true today, and what makes sense today may not make sense tomorrow. This is not a mistake. This is part of life. We change. The world around us changes. Our experiences shape us. They open our eyes in new ways. And as our understanding grows, so do our answers. What once brought us comfort may later bring us confusion. What once seemed confusing may later become clear. This is the natural rhythm of living. Sometimes people feel sad when old answers no longer fit. They say, "I thought I understood. Was I wrong?" But the truth is, you were not wrong. You were simply at a different place in your journey. Every answer fits the time and space where it is found. It is like clothing. We wear what suits the season. This is why it is important not to hold on too tightly to what we think we know. If we do, we may miss new truths that are trying to appear. When we allow our answers to change, we allow ourselves to grow. We become softer, more open, more alive. There's no shame in outgrowing an old belief. In fact, it shows that you are paying attention to your life. You are listening, not just to your mind, but to your heart as well. And the heart, too, has its own wisdom, one that speaks slowly, over time. So if you feel uncertain, because what once felt true no longer does, take a breath. You are not lost. You are simply growing. Many of the most important lessons in life do not come when we know everything. They come when we don't. Not knowing is not the end of the road. Often, it is the beginning of something new. It opens a door. It invites us to listen, to look more closely, to ask deeper questions. Think of a child. A child asks many questions, not because they are weak, but because they are curious. Their minds are open. Their hearts are ready to learn. In the same way, When we admit we do not know, we become like that child, full of wonder, ready to grow. Some people feel embarrassed to say, "I don't know," but that moment is full of power. It means we are not stuck. It means we are not pretending. It means we are on the edge of learning something real. Life is always teaching us, but we can only learn when we are open. Even in difficult times, not knowing can teach us. When something painful happens, we often ask, why? And many times, we don't find an answer right away. But in sitting with that question, we learn about patience. We learn about strength. We learn about what matters most to us. These lessons do not come from quick answers. They grow slowly, through time and experience. Not knowing can feel uncomfortable, but that discomfort is not a problem. It is a sign that something inside us is moving. That movement is the beginning of change. So if you find yourself unsure, confused or searching, remember this. You are learning. You are growing. You are becoming more human, not less. And that truly is a beautiful path. We are often told to push ourselves, to reach higher, to never give up. While effort is important, there is also wisdom in knowing our limits. We are human. We cannot know everything. We cannot do everything. And that is not failure. It is simply the truth. Accepting our limits does not mean we stop trying. It means we stop fighting with reality. When we try to be more than we are all the time, we become tired. We become anxious. We feel that we are never enough. But when we accept that we have limits, we begin to rest. We begin to breathe again. There is a quiet power in saying, "I have done what I can." It brings relief. It brings peace. It allows us to focus on what is possible instead of what is not. Some answers will always be beyond us. Some questions may never be fully solved, but that does not mean our lives have no meaning. In fact, accepting our limits can help us feel more connected to others. We see that they too have limits. We become more gentle, more understanding. We no longer expect perfection from ourselves or anyone else. This creates space for real connection, not based on performance, but on honesty. I have met many people who felt ashamed of not knowing enough, not doing enough. But when they learned to accept their own limits, they found a new kind of strength, a calm, steady strength that doesn't shout or chase. It simply is. You do not need to carry everything. You do not need to understand it all. Accept what is yours to hold and let the rest be. In that choice, you may find more peace than you ever expected. In many moments of life, people feel the need to speak, to explain, to give answers. We often believe that silence means we are unsure or that we are hiding something. But silence is not always weakness. Sometimes, silence is wisdom. There are times when words cannot hold the full truth. No matter how carefully we speak, the meaning is too deep, too wide. In those moments, silence speaks more clearly than any sentence. It creates space for thought, for feeling, for understanding. When we sit in silence, we begin to notice what we missed before. We feel the beat of our heart. We hear sounds around us. We realize how fast our thoughts move. Silence shows us what is really happening, both outside and inside. It doesn't give easy answers, but it reveals deeper truths. In conversation, silence can be a gift. When someone shares something difficult, we often rush to reply. We want to fix, to explain, to comfort. But sometimes, just being there, quiet, open, present, is the most powerful thing we can do. Silence says, "I'm here. I'm listening. I don't need to change this moment." Not knowing is often best met with silence. When we don't have the answer, we can choose not to pretend. We can choose stillness instead of noise. In that stillness, we can rest. We can think more clearly. We can allow life to unfold without trying to control it. The world today is loud, full of opinions, advice and noise. But wisdom does not always shout. Often it whispers, and sometimes it says nothing at all. So do not fear the quiet. Do not rush to fill it. Sit with it. Let it hold you. In that silence, you may find a truth that words cannot reach. In our daily lives, we often listen with a goal, to reply, to correct, or to prove a point. But this kind of listening is not truly open. It is filled with judgment, even if we don't notice it. We may hear someone's words, but we are also thinking, is this right? Or do I agree? In doing so, we miss what is truly being shared. Listening without judgment is different. It is quiet. It is patient. It does not try to control the conversation or fix the speaker. It simply allows the other person to be seen and heard as they are, without trying to change them. This kind of listening is rare, but it is deeply healing. When someone is speaking, especially about something personal or uncertain, they do not always need answers. They need space. They need to feel safe. They need to know that they are not being measured while they speak. Listening without judgment offers that safety. This way of listening can also be used with ourselves. When we feel confused or unsure, we often judge our own thoughts. We say, I shouldn't feel this, or I should know better. But if we learn to listen to ourselves the way we would listen to a friend, with kindness and without pressure, something begins to soften inside. Not knowing is often when we most need this kind of listening. Whether we are speaking to someone else or to our own heart, we do not need to rush. We can let the words come slowly. We can let the silence between words have value. Judgment closes the door, but gentle listening opens it. And in that open space, we may discover not answers, but something just as important, understanding. Most people feel uncomfortable when they don't know what will happen next. We want to plan. We want to prepare. We want to feel safe. But the truth is, much of life is uncertain. No matter how carefully we plan, things can still surprise us. This is not a failure. It is simply how life works. What we can learn, though, is how to stay present, even in the middle of that uncertainty. Being present does not mean we have everything figured out. It means we are here, right now, with whatever is happening, even if it's confusing or unclear. Many times, our minds try to escape uncertainty by jumping ahead. We think about what might go wrong. We imagine many possible outcomes. This can make us feel anxious or tired. But if we gently bring our attention back to the moment we are in, we may notice something else. Right now, we are okay. Right now, we can take one small breath, one small step. Being present is not about solving everything. It is about meeting each moment with honesty. If we are sad, we notice that. If we are unsure, we notice that too. We do not have to push those feelings away. We can allow them to exist without letting them control us. When we accept that uncertainty is part of life, we stop fighting it. We begin to move with it, like a boat on water. We still steer, but we also trust the current. We don't know what is around every bend, but we learn to stay calm in the boat. Presence is a kind of anchor. It doesn't give us all the answers, but it gives us steadiness. And sometimes that is exactly what we need. In many parts of life, we are taught to search for answers. We take tests, solve problems, and make decisions. Answers seem important. They give us direction. They help us feel sure. But not every question needs to be solved. Some questions are meant to stay open, and there is beauty in that. An open question is one that invites reflection, not a quick reply. It may not have a single correct answer. It may change depending on the moment or the person. Questions like, What is a good life, or what truly matters to me, cannot be solved like math. They are meant to be lived with, not closed. Many people feel nervous around open questions. They say, "I just want to know." But sometimes not knowing is a gift. It keeps us humble. It keeps us curious. It keeps our hearts soft. When we live with open questions, we continue to grow. We continue to discover. I have found that some of the most meaningful moments in life happen not when we find an answer, but when we stop and truly sit with a question, when we allow it to rest in us, when we stop looking for a perfect reply, and instead allow the question to shape us. Open questions can also connect us with others. When we share a question, not a fact, but a wondering, it invites deeper conversation. It brings us closer. We say, "I'm not sure either, but let's explore together." You don't have to close every question to move forward. Sometimes the question itself is the path. And walking that path with care, with openness, is more important than reaching the end. Let your questions breathe. Let them live with you. They may lead you to places that answers never could. There are times when we try to control everything, our future, our emotions, even the people around us. We believe that if we just plan well enough or try hard enough, everything will go the way we want. But life does not always move in a straight line. It twists. It pauses. It changes direction without warning. And this can be frightening. But what if we could learn to trust the flow of life, even when we don't understand it? Trust does not mean we like everything that happens. It means we begin to accept that we are part of something larger, something we cannot fully see. Think of a river. The water does not stop to ask, "Where am I going?" It moves. It meets rocks, turns, and narrow places. Still, it flows forward. Life is like that. There will be hard parts, slow parts, and parts that feel uncertain. But the river still carries us. When we try to fight the flow, we become tired. We get stuck in fear, regret, or overthinking. But when we let go, even a little, we may notice that life has a rhythm, a quiet wisdom. It may not give us the answers we want right away, but it often gives us what we need, just when we need it. Trust grows slowly. It's not something we force. It begins when we stop trying to control every step, when we allow space for the unknown, when we say, "I don't know what will happen next, but I will keep moving." You don't have to know the whole path to take the next step. Life supports you, even in silence, even in confusion, even in the questions. Trust the flow, not because it's easy, but because it's real. It is natural to want to fix things. When something is broken, we try to repair it. When someone is hurting, we want to help. When we don't understand something, we search for answers. This desire to solve is not bad. It comes from care. But sometimes, the need to fix everything becomes too heavy. It begins to take away our peace. Not every problem needs to be solved right now. Some questions do not have clear answers. Some situations simply need time. And some feelings just need to be felt, not fixed. When we try to solve everything, we put pressure on ourselves. We think, "I must make this better." And when we can't, we feel like we've failed. But letting go of this need is not the same as giving up. It is choosing a gentler path. It is saying, "Maybe I don't have to hold all of this." It is allowing life to unfold at its own pace, without rushing it or forcing it. Sometimes, just being present is enough. There is great relief in accepting that we are not in control of everything, that we are not responsible for every answer, every emotion, every outcome. We are allowed to rest. We are allowed to breathe. When we stop trying to fix everything, we make room for something else: peace, stillness, and sometimes quiet joy. We begin to see that life is not a puzzle to complete, but a moment to live. So if you are tired of solving, it is okay to stop for a while. Let go. Be here. Even with questions, even with uncertainty, the world will keep turning, and you will still be whole. Even when the world is noisy, even when questions fill our minds, there is a quiet place inside each of us. It may be small, it may be hidden, but it is always there, waiting. You do not need to travel far to find it. You only need to pause and listen gently. This place is not built on answers. It does not depend on knowing everything. It is simply a space where you can just be, without pressure, without judgment. In this place, you are not asked to prove anything. You are already enough. Sometimes, life pulls us in many directions. It tells us to hurry, to decide, to understand right away. But when we take even a few moments to return to this quiet place inside, we begin to remember, it is okay not to know. It is okay to wait. It is okay to be still. This place does not shout, it whispers. And in that whisper, there is peace. You may not always feel it clearly. Some days it may seem far away, but it never leaves you. With time, with patience, you will come to trust it more. It is your true home, calm, steady, and always open to you. Before we end, I want to take a moment to say thank you. If you have liked this video, subscribed to this channel, left a kind comment, or supported through super thanks or membership, it truly means a lot. Your presence, your time, and your support help create a space where these quiet thoughts can be shared. I'm grateful. Wherever you are, whatever questions you carry, I hope you can find moments of stillness, moments where you can rest in that quiet place inside. You don't need to have all the answers. Sometimes, just being here is more than enough.